Just the physicality of it all just seems like that helps bring the team together as the series moves on and a little more hate comes in.
Yeah, we were much more competitive physically last night than we were in Game 4. So that's a big part of our game, and particularly defensively. And I think I thought everyone the entire group was more competitive in that area.
We talk about teams coming together throughout a season, and then Mikko coming in, and just how much does that bond a team?
What do you mean?
Having that us against them mentality when it gets raised up, because we've seen it in other series too, which it hadn't come into this series. It didn't seem like it till Game 5.
I mean that's playoff hockey, right? I mean it's a war out there at ice level, and there's a lot of individual battles every shift. And it does bring your group together when you're standing up for each other and in that battle together.
Early in the season, when Liam Bichel first came up, that moment last night with him getting a lot of love from the crowd, is that the sort of player that you were hoping to see in the playoffs when you first saw him? Well,
there's no doubt he's a physical presence, and he takes a piece of everybody he can out there, and that's what you want this time of year. I think that's what everyone's looking for this time of year from a defensive point of view. And I mean he's a hard guy to play against. You're playing against him when he's out there, and I like that he's doing it within the boundaries of the rules. He's not taking penalties like he was maybe early in his career or as many, and but he's still playing that game.
How good is he at you just mentioned in the rules, there's a lot of plays if you watched him while the play's going on in front of the net, knocking guys out, things like that. How good is he at those type of things that aren't maybe as obvious?
Yeah, no, I mean he's great. He's a big body, and what I like about him is a lot of young players have to be taught those things. He's got some natural instincts there to engage people around the net and box outs and in the corners. The physicality piece is something that comes naturally to him, which is great because that's pretty rare.
Have you noticed, or have you felt about rookies, young players in the series? It doesn't seem like a lot of guys are getting overwhelmed, especially guys like Bichel or Oscar.
Yeah, no, I think on our end, well, first off, there's not a lot of young players in the series. I don't think they have any, and we've got a couple. It's a big ask this time of year. I think Bichel and Oscar have both done a really good job. They both have some similarities, though. They're both big bodies that can physically compete when the temperature goes up this time of year. And I think that's I don't think that's a surprise that those are the young guys that are able to kind of contribute.
You talked a lot in the series about penalties, trying to minimize them against Colorado. How do you feel you did against that last night? How do you kind of carry that going back into their arena?
Yeah, I thought last night was our best night for that. We didn't take the penalties that we took were defending, which I don't mind. You know what? If you're battling in front of our net to help save a goal, no problem. It's the ones that are 200 feet from our net on the forecheck or in the neutral zone that we've got to avoid. And I thought we did a much better job of that last night. And that's key against any of the teams that are left here in the playoffs.
Talked to Wyatt a little bit in Denver about his development and how he feels more comfortable. Season goes on. How have you seen him leadership-wise develop?
You know what? He's definitely got more of a voice. It's not necessarily in front of the group, but when you get in meetings, power play meetings, or there is an opportunity to speak up. I think he has started to find his voice in our group, and he's feeling more comfortable with that. It's never easy. He's still a young player, but I think our group has been open to him, which is the ultimate sign of respect for a young guy when he feels comfortable to speak up and and he does when he needs to. But why it's still at a lot of his talking is done with his play on the ice.
Thomas Harley is a player who just a couple of years ago was kind of asked to work in his defensive game in the AHL, and now fast forward to this series, I think he's +4 in 108 minutes or something against the best guys on the other side. How uncommon is that kind of defensive development for a player like him?
Yeah, you know what? You've taken a lot of pride in it. I mean, if I could rewind to that first training camp, I remember running one-on-one drills, and he couldn't have been softer or it was at that point when we sent him back, I mean, there was a long way to go. And to his credit, he listened. The coaches down there, worked on it with him. They understood the mandate. They didn't preach offense. They didn't play him on the power play. They based his how they were judging him on how he was defending, and he bought into that. And, I think that was the right path, because he started to recognize the importance of it to play at this level. He added that to his game, and then the offensive instincts, I think, have always been there. It's a great lesson for young players. Instead of pouting and saying, well, that's not who I am. I'm an offensive guy. He added that layer to his game, and all of a sudden now he's a world-class player.
A lot of talk around the league right now about diving, embellishment, things like that. I'm just curious your take around the whole playoffs with that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that as an issue. I mean, I don't know. Last night they were talking about Jamie Benn. I mean, you got a stick in the face. Like, you're gonna go down when a stick hits you in the face. I think it's just gamesmanship.
The Granlund, Hintz, Branston, and Lyon just seemed like it really connected from the beginning. What is it about those guys that play so well?
You know what? I think communication. I think the fact that I don't think you can understate the fact that they're all Finnish and they have that connection, and they've played on national teams before. I don't know if they've ever played as a line, but I think there's a real connection there, and I think that always speeds it up, because when you're looking for chemistry, a lot of it is communication, reading off each other, talking to each other, and I think that plays a part for sure. And hopefully they can keep building on that. I thought they were really good last night.
Donov seemed to have, he was noticeable to me.
Yeah.
Is that, he's one of the guys you've known so well, is that the kind of stuff that he can do? Because there are times when you need, walking that line between risk and go, and he seems to do it very well and create.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a solid pro. And another one, I've talked about it before, but he's played on Olympic teams. He's played for Russia nationally on a bunch of different at a bunch of different events. He plays a man's game this time of year. He's heavy, he's hard, he's straight line. Those guys are just really valuable this time of year.
The 2-day break help at all with the progress that Miro's been making? Is he any more likely to be sixth in the West?
Status quo. We'll see. He's in here today. Keep improving. So I don't have any more than that.
Same for Robo.
Same for Robo. Yeah.
Power. Just last thing on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
Chance creation, at least from the measurements we can see. I'm sure you have your own numbers. Seem like you guys have been constantly creating chances.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much in Game 4, but every other game that seems like you're creating dangerous chances.
Yeah.
How this coaching staff, especially against a team that knows you guys so well, how do you all keep doing that?
Yeah.
2 series in a row.
Well, I think our special teams, both special teams, have been critical in this series. I think when you look at the games won and lost, it's always you've got to win the special teams battle. You got to win the goaltending battle. It's always usually where these series start, and I think we've been on the right side of the special teams battle more than not, and we've got to continue to do that.